Yep. Except due to stress, I almost went home instead of having a little vacation. My computer got hacked by people that do the dark web stuff, and it resulted in the geeks not being able to help. And he's hearing me today.
Sure we do. Well, guys, welcome to the Tuesday Notary Titans, or the TNT call for Tuesday, January 29th, 2019. Carol, Ray, and myself are here in the first half of the call. Carol, once again, thank you for spending a little bit of your vacation with us, too. You're in Reno, Nevada on a quick little getaway. I appreciate you spending your time. I know we all do. And then Laura Biewer will be on the call a little later on, probably just in the last 15 minutes or so. She's teaching a class today, too, so she should wrap up just about then. Today, we've got lots of great questions that have been sent in. So, guys, I really appreciate responding to my emails when I send them out. That gives us a lot of stuff to talk about. And then also, both Carol, myself, and Laura are going to share some of the just tips, tricks, hacks, strategies that we've used in our own business to help maintain our sanity, our peace of mind, and still find the joy in what we do when, especially like at the end of the month, it's absolutely crazy. So Carol, before we get started though, anything that you're excited about this week that you'd like to share with people?
Oh yeah, a couple of things. And while I'm talking, forgive me, but I'm going to give my husband a quickie kiss because he's leaving. Okay.
Should we turn off the camera or turn it on?
So hopefully nobody minds me introducing him that way. Goodbye. Never had a time when we said goodbye to each other in 55 and a half years without a little kiss.
That's amazing.
So be careful. Bye. Anyway, yes. All right, honey, I will. Anyway, so, two things we're very excited about. First of all, as a lot of you know, we now have Notary to Pro in Spanish. And I know that, Bill, you're going to be interviewing Lalo, who's the translator for it. He's also now, we have 3 courses. And so he's got the first course, of course, has been in Spanish, along with exams. But he's also in the process now. He's done the reverse mortgage course, and he's working on the Beyond the Basics. So we're trying to get it where it really is, you know, completely Spanish. So that's one thing. My wonderful daughter, Barbara, is so creative, and she's come up with something that I'm really thrilled about. First of all, we have a marketplace that we've created, which is going to be for use by our students, graduates, some of the companies that we work with, where they will be able to like post a business card. We have anywhere from 3,500 to 5,100 people per week coming to notarytopro.com, which is, when I found that out, it blew my mind. So we have a marketplace now for people who want to advertise. And this is, you know, we get mostly notaries and signing services coming into our website. So that is now alive. It's at notarytopro.com, and it's called the Notary to Pro Marketplace. But creatively now, she's come up with something else. We send a newsletter out, and a lot of times it just has to do with how much work we have, because the newsletter is very time consuming. But she's come up with something we're not quite ready to launch, but it'll be within the next couple of weeks. And it's Notary to Pro News. And Bill, you're going to be included. Laura's going to be included. You're going to have Coach's Corner. Is that what it is?
Yeah, that's it.
Coach's Corner. And then Laura's going to have the law according to Laura, because that's her expertise. And she's going to be bringing us articles with interesting and quirky kind of laws, things that we've never thought about, that you may never hear of. And yet, boy, when you hear them, because I've heard a few from her, it's like, really? Is that really what we're supposed to be doing? And so I think it's going to be really exciting. And then we're also going to be doing a lot of other, you know, really fun stuff. It's going to be a lot of fun. So
awesome.
That's what I'm excited about.
Well, that's pretty excited, and I'm so honored that you're even including me, and I know Laura feels the same. So thank you for that. I'm excited to see where that goes.
Well, we are TNT.
TNT. Every time I hear it, I think of the
The
song.
Nutty Three. Oh no, that's not what it means.
We're getting there. And then I also want to share two things that I'm real excited about as well. The first one is, guys, the Certified Reverse Mortgage Signing Professional Training and Exam is finally ready. It is available here. I'm going to just type it into the chat window because it can be hard, but it's Certified Reverse Mortgage Signing Professional.org. If you go there, you can see the details. I've got videos that kind of outline everything on that. If you are a graduate of Notary to Pro or a member of Sign and Thrive, please send me an email to orders@notarycoach.com. You do get access to that for free for a very limited time, and then it will be an annual certification. Guys, it's the most intense reverse mortgage training in the industry. It goes super in depth about the whole process, and it's an annual exam because we continue to make it better, and that industry changes almost every single week because it's so heavily regulated. So I just want to throw that out there. We're super excited. We've been working on that for a long time. And then also, the other thing I'm real excited about is the wedding officiant training. I finally found, through a great contact in Florida, we found this amazing wedding officiant that teaches how to create and deliver an amazing wedding ceremony. So I know there's a lot of notaries that do wedding officiating on the side, or you've dabbled in it, or you just want to do it on your own. That's something that's always been kind of on my radar. So I found us a dynamic guy who has a system. We've got a free webinar coming up on Valentine's Day, February 14th. If you're interested in that, there's a link in the window now, so you can go there and take a look at it. All right, cool. Those are the things that we're really excited about. Let's dive in, Carol. We've got some amazing questions. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and let's get started on this part.
And before you do, Bill, I want to apologize to my graduates because of the computer crash, which was actually days ago. I was not able to post what you sent me regarding that reverse mortgage training, but I really, really encourage our graduates. I know I have a course, but it's not as intense, doesn't come with the certification for that industry recognized, which yours does, or whatever the people that you're working with.
Mm-hmm.
So I do apologize, but I will be getting out the information as soon as I can. So just
no stress at all. You know, we'll work with Notary to Pro graduates no matter what. There's a deadline on it, but we know stuff happens. So just communicate and we'll get you in there and get you looking at that. It's 95 modules and it's a 100 question test where you have to get a 90% or better. So our goal is to raise the standard of excellence in the industry. And this is just one of the first steps that we've chosen to take on it. So thank you for participating in that. And I love your feedback too. So keep that coming. All right, question. Carol, it's a deep one. And I'm going to go ahead and just read it here. As the notary, I'm usually focused on validating the borrower or the signer's ID. But last week, I think a fraudulent company tried to use me to do their fraud to collect and send pictures of the Social Security card and a check from an unsuspecting signer. The main thing that caught my attention is that they used a Gmail as the email address instead of a professional one, and she couldn't find the website or business address. She looked up the company on the Secretary of State, found some preliminary information, but ultimately she decided to return the documents back to the signer because she couldn't validate the business as a true financial entity. So she let the signer and the company know that she was removing herself from the transaction, and if it was legitimate, she fears that she killed the deal, forfeiting her fee, even after making a trip. Now, because of that experience, she's a little bit nervous. How far should a notary go to validate the legitimacy of a company that has hired us? How common is that potential fraud? And of course, Carol, do you have a story for this?
I do.
Good.
Remind me.
Well,
do I really? I can't remember.
Okay.
Well, first of all, anytime that you see emails and it says, the gmail.com or whatever, you'll find that they'll say a company name of something, and then you look at it and it's Mr. Obliterate at so-and-so, Gmail or whatever.com. I mean, it's ridiculous. You can see there's no company name. You get this stuff all the time. I would go a long way to do that because I have been involved, not that I've done anything, but I have seen things that happen that can just devastate people's lives. I think she's terrific for doing this. Do we know who this was? Or
I do know her name, yes, Bernice.
oh, okay, because good for you, girl. We owe that to people, and I think she did it. I think she really did what she needed to do to do that. And you go with your gut. I always tell people, go with your gut, and when you have a feeling, as far as her getting paid, sorry, but you're probably not going to get paid.
Yes, small price.
But you know what? You can turn them in. I mean, you can always go to, there's officials, there are legal remedies, for people to go after these kinds of scams.
Yep. And Carol, I totally agree. I think first and foremost, it's your integrity and it's your commission and it's your business on the line. So trust your gut. If it doesn't feel right, if it doesn't look right, like the Gmail is a big indicator, typos and misspellings, the fact that you can't find any branding for them. I mean, they had to find customers somehow, so there should be some sort of digital presence. So I think you did really good here in, it might be totally legit too, we don't know, but you got to trust your gut. Do you want to be a part of that or not? And you've chosen not to, and I think that's totally okay. Another great resource as these come up is the resources like Carrie Rivera's The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. If you find a company, maybe research, do some due diligence on things like that, or even share that information with that community as well.
Hey, Bill.
Yeah.
Would this be a good time for us to bring up, I know we can't talk about names, but we could talk about where they advertise and everything. Is this a good time to maybe spend a couple of minutes and let people know out there what's going on with the, darn it?
The scam companies?
Because they are at it again.
Yeah, they're pretty relentless on that one. If it's okay with you, I think between Carrie's list and the video that I'm going to have coming out, I think we'll be able to address that. And maybe you and I can collaborate on that. And
the only thing I'm just going to say right now, because this is how they get you. If you know of somebody who has seen ads on Indeed, Monster, Glassdoor, that's where they advertise. They have great companies in your area. They've got 100 companies, and they can have access as long as they take the training from you. Take your training from them. If you see somebody, or if they ask you about it, please give them a warning. They're taking thousands of dollars. Now it's gone beyond a few hundred. They're taking thousands of dollars from people.
General rule of thumb, is if you have to pay for it, it's not worth it. That's what we were talking about last week, but you shouldn't have to pay for that stuff to get business. All right, excellent. For the journal entries for 2 credible witnesses in California, I enter their information in 2 lines in the journal, have them sign, take the oath, etc. And then for all the notarizations, I enter the client's name, and in the identification section, I write 2 credible witnesses. Is this acceptable?
Yes.
That sounds about right, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So this is California specifically, but however, we do the same thing in Arizona as well. Let's see.
I did it in Arizona too. California and Arizona both. That's how I handled it.
Just to clarify though, the credible witnesses are for, if this is a loan signing, sure, the lender and the title company might have an interest in seeing the backup documentation. But if this was like general notary work, the credible witness stuff is for you and your records to prove the identity. You don't have to modify the notary block because you've already identified. You use the credible witnesses to establish identity. That's done. And then you're now just notarizing the signer's information. So you don't have to make any alterations to the notary blocks.
But you put it in the journal, right?
Always in the journal, yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. So if we've accepted loan signings for a loan signing company for a few years and then decide to market to title companies, is it ethical to market to those title companies in which we work for through the other notary companies, or would that be considered unethical?
Yes, it would be.
Yeah, real short answer, that's called poaching. Now, there are some times where the relationships naturally occur. Like they just love you. They just want to work with you. For whatever reason, they might be splitting from the other signing company that originally hired you. That might be one thing that's totally different. But if you actively pursue stealing somebody else's client, that is unethical. And remember, guys, as notaries and signing agents, we're just one step from being a signing company on our own. So that's like somebody moving in on like you said, hey, I can't take this signing. Would you mind doing this for this client? And then that notary goes to that escrow officer and starts trying to steal your client. That's what that's like. Even though they're a corporation and we tend to depersonalize them, somebody hustled, somebody worked to build that relationship. So we don't want to steal people's clients. A couple of weeks ago, you mentioned in the Tuesday morning call that you're getting, oh, okay. Well, yes, the reverse mortgage training program is released. Thank you for asking. Using this email as an example, the one that I sent out. Oops, shoot. There we go. Sorry, guys, I got to move my camera here. All right, so I'm trying to send a weekly email to 75 plus contacts, but looking for the easiest way to do so instead of having to type in each recipient one at a time and then copying and pasting. So this is a signing agent who's trying to market and promote via her contact list or her database. So if you're going to do this, which I highly encourage you to do, guys, having a contact list is huge, and then staying in touch with that contact list is even more powerful. There are services like HubSpot or Constant Contact or MailChimp, thank you, that will make that easier. Usually they have a free version, and then there's a proprietary version that costs you a little more money and you get all the bells and whistles. But this, staying in touch with people, is an art form. And when you get creative and authentic with it, it can be a gold mine for you. Hey, Carol, are you monitoring the chat? I can't see it, but if there's any questions as people are coming through, can you let me know?
Sure. I haven't been doing it. I'll take a look.
Cool. Thanks. All right. I'm learning so much. I'm still in this waiting period. I'm now waiting for my commission and the stamp. The NNA is guessing I should have everything by the 25th. I've been educating myself by watching your videos and watching the questions and answers in the Facebook group. But my question is there anything else that I should be doing while I have this week waiting period, or 2 weeks or month, whatever it might be? Obviously, I'm eager to get it. So, Carol, do you have some suggestions for some people who are kind of playing the waiting game? Maybe they're waiting for their commission to come in or their background check or whatever it is. What should new agents be doing?
Well, for one, I would suggest that they really get to know the rules and regulations of their state. I mean, get to know them. Dig into that handbook if they have a handbook, and prepare themselves that way. And then, of course, make sure that they have the knowledge that they need to purchase equipment and supplies. They want to compare prices. What are we doing now? Where are we?
Somebody's trying to share their screen.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of things that you can do. And if you are a member of Facebook, go on the forums and don't necessarily jump in and just start asking questions, because most of the forums, they've heard the same questions 1,000 times, and there are files. There's information about, if you're looking up a particular question, they usually have it somewhere. Somebody's asked it or answered it. But things like that, there's a lot of things that you can do to get yourself prepared. But I think the most important thing of all is to get get to know your rules and regulations in your state.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I encourage you to become an expert in your state's notary laws. Experts in state notary laws are actually pretty few and far between. So you can bring a lot of value just to your own business and the community by actually getting in there and studying that. That's part of integrity too, guys. You have to know what you can and you cannot do. So if you really want to have integrity in your business, you've got to understand those laws. The other thing that I would highly recommend too is, if you're not yet sold on buying a course or being part of a community that helps support you, start doing that. Either Carol's or my course, or get coaching from Laura Biewer, whatever it is. get access to people who can map this system out for you. And then you have resources that you could be studying, whether it's videos, maybe even on YouTube, just do the free ones. But inside the course, getting to know loan documents. If you don't have history and experience in mortgage loan documents, that can be really intimidating. All of this you can be doing ahead of time to get yourself ready, because this is one of those hurry up and wait businesses. You can be slow, 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 and then all of a sudden it just takes off, and you've got to be ready for yes.
Good morning. This is Valerie. I wanted to pop in real quick.
Sure.
Totally threw me off. My commission came really fast. I didn't have anything to wear. I was transitioning from a jeans and t-shirt career to a business clothes career, and I had nothing to wear. So just make sure you got one outfit that you'd feel comfortable walking into a bank officer or to an escrow officer and presenting yourself.
Yeah, that's a great idea as well. Being ready that way, and comfort, so you feel comfortable in your own clothes and your own skin, is super important when you do that. And even if it is one outfit that you wear to every signing or every sales call, that's okay. It's a great way to start. All right, let's look at a couple more here.
Bill, can I back up for just a second on the how to send out emails to a group?
Yeah, absolutely.
If you have Outlook, you can build a group and put all those in it. So then you just say, EO officers, Fort Worth, and it'll go that way. The other way to do it is do a BCC. If you'll do a BCC once, put your name in as a sender, they'll all get it, but they won't see all the other addresses as well.
And that is important. People don't think about that. Don't ever send out emails to people just listing their names. I've seen this so many times, just sending their names, and everybody knows exactly who's gotten that, and they've got their email addresses. So you hit it, boy, always when you're doing anything like that, use the BCC. Don't let people see who you've been sending emails to.
It's just a cheaper way to do it.
Yep, exactly. That's a great input. And I'll also say, guys, when you're going to do broadcasting like that, you want to bring value to relationships. It's really difficult to I'm going to mute everybody again. So it's really difficult to add value when you're broadcasting. It's an art form. If you're going to send these blast messages, you all get the crappy ones. We all get crap every single day. So if you invest a little time in the beginning and you're really delivering value, that's what you really want to do if you're going to blast people. Otherwise, schedule more personal email correspondence to cut through the clutter. Make it real and personal. It's more tedious. It takes a little more time, but that is what builds relationships. All right, let's get back here to the questions. We're really making some good time on here, and we're almost to the deadline where I want to cut into our the actual lesson that we're providing today. So I'm planning to volunteer 1 hour in signing services per month at a retirement home in order to get my foot in the door. What are the most common documents that I might encounter? So this is on the general notary work side. And I don't know who sent this in, but thank you for volunteering. This has been actually a very effective way to get your foot in the door in these senior communities. Provides value, great way to give back, and it's been boosting some businesses, especially in the Oregon, Washington area, and California, even Northern California. So some of the most common general notary work documents that you'll find here, obviously, are your last wills and testaments, family trusts, quitclaim deeds, and medical directives are probably some of the most common. Anybody else have any comment? Just post them in the chat. If you do this already, if you're doing lots of general notary work, please post those in the chat window too to help out. Great question here. What does one do in the case of a signer whose ID has expired, but they have a paper copy from the DMV? Carol, you have an idea on this one?
Oh yeah, I don't know about every state. Most states, I know California for sure, and I don't believe Arizona will accept the paper copy. Can't use it. You have to have the original driver's license.
So a couple of things here. So in Arizona, we can accept them.
Oh, you can.
Yeah, because they're issued from DMV. Also in California, though, the expired ID is acceptable, right? Isn't it a 5-year cushion?
Up to 5 years from issue date.
From the issue date. Okay, cool. And then every state can be different, guys. So it's really hard for us to give a blanket statement on this. So you do actually have to check your notary statutes. And if you have a specific question, I'm finding that most secretaries of state actually have somebody who answers the phone and can answer questions like this, or you can call the NNA hotline too. But I like to go straight to the horse's mouth. So I'll call the Secretary of State for Arizona and just confirm this stuff. Great. Is being a realtor a determinant on my bio for applications to signing companies?
Yes.
Carol, these are the
I'm adamant about it. No, I'm getting out there. Just don't tell them. They don't care. They want to know that you're a good signing agent and you know what you're going to do. I'll never forget one time I had this fellow who had been a mortgage broker, a real estate agent. He'd done all kinds of things. He had quite a resume, like a 3-page resume. And he sent it to one of my favorite signing service owners out in San Francisco, or that area. And he called me up. It was Howard. His name is Howard. And he called me up and he says, "I will never hire that guy." And I said, "Well, he's a great guy and he's really good at, good signing agent and everything. Why would you not hire him?" He said he sent me a 2-page resume telling me about all the things that he's done. And it was like a bragging sheet. And he said he never once mentioned signing agent. And just to me that, he's like, "I've been a mortgage broker and I've been a loan officer and I've been a real estate agent."
So that brings up a really good point, because being a real estate agent is actually kind of great because it gives you exposure to the industry and you know how a closing is supposed to look. But from the perspective of a signing company, or especially an escrow officer, an escrow officer's client is real estate agents. So if they're going out and they're finding real estate agent clients to feed them business, and then they do, and you send another real estate agent to a signing for this real estate agent's client, they consider that a conflict of interest. And most of us have boundaries and etiquette and respect that we wouldn't violate that relationship. But unfortunately, people before us did not. So you had people poaching clients or bad-mouthing them, and it's just created a problem. So that's where the issue comes. It's a conflict of interest in some people's eyes. So if you are a real estate agent, you may want to leave it off your application. Next, actually, you know what? Why don't we move to our story. Now, Carol, I know what we're going to be talking about here, both Carol, Laura, and myself. We all have kind of our own strategies for managing our day-to-day. And Carol, I know you have a specific story about something that just recently happened. So I want to start with your story on what happens when we don't take care of ourselves in the hustle and bustle.
Yeah, this was hit me really. I'm going to be very personal here. I'm pretty personal and sort of expose myself to my students all the time. But yeah, this was really bad. Everybody knows, I think, I'm a retired escrow manager. That was a very stressful job. I did that for many years, started in the late 70s. I did signings for myself for 14 years. I started my course at the age of 66, almost 10 years ago. I'm in my 10th year. I've always managed to handle things, the stress. And I'm on the phone a lot with my students. I spend a great deal of time with my students, and everybody says, "How do you get time to, you're always there when I call," and everything. So about a week and a half ago, I broke down and I scared the heck out of my family. It's never happened to me before, but I guess at first they thought I was actually having a stroke. And as it turned out, and I've been to the doctor and all that, that I was having anxiety attacks. And I got to thinking about it, and I thought, I love what I do. So it's not that I hate my job or anything. I love what I do, but I was trying to cram too many things at one time. My hours were different. I wasn't working the way that I had been working before. And I talked to Bill and Laura about this because I didn't know if I really wanted to, you know, have you guys kind of be a product of what I'm about to say. But we need, every one of us who operate our own business, and you are business owners, you are independent contractors, you're only responsible for yourself. There's nobody else that's going to take care of you if you don't take care of yourself. So what I did realize, that things that I had changed, and this is what I'm going to kind of give you the things that I'm trying to change again. First of all, I would get up oftentimes I would go to bed at 9 o'clock, sleep for 2 or 3 hours, get up in the middle of the night, and I would work for 3 or 4 hours, and I would go back to bed exhausted and sleep wonderfully for about 3 or 4 hours, get up at like 7. And then I go back to my desk, but instead of taking a little break and getting my coffee and something to eat, I started sitting at my desk again for 4 or 5 hours. Now it's like past lunchtime and everybody's saying, you better get something to eat. That was one thing that I was doing wrong. I quit spending the time programming myself, setting myself up for success. Maybe on a Sunday morning, you know, Saturday evening, planning what I was going to be doing the next week. How was I going to be taking like my mentoring appointments? We say that we're open from Monday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. because we know we have people in signings, so we want to let them know we're there. But I have let that go into Sundays, so now I'm going Monday through Sunday. So I'm changing that. I'm setting up my mentoring calendar, which is when people call and they know that they have a lot of things they want to talk about and they need 15 minutes or a half an hour of my time. I'm happy to give it to them, but I'm going to cut that down where I've got more control of that. So I'm going to start going back to making my lists, my programming for the week of what's most important for me to accomplish. And then the other things can go off to the side and come in when I want to fit them in. I'm going to start sitting at my desk at a regular time in the morning and making sure I get up after a couple of hours and take a walk and get something to eat. The thing that really works for me, though, is that I am going to probably at least 3 times a week continue my old practice of catching a few hours of sleep, getting up, working, turning on my music, got my coffee going, and catching up on email and doing all those things totally uninterrupted, you know, nobody calling. So that next day I am a fresh human being and I have nothing on my plate except what comes that day. I don't know what else to say except it's worth, I'm finding the change because I started about a week ago after this happened. And I'm finding that I'm going back to these old habits and they're really good. So whatever you do when you're planning your business, you really need to plan around you. What is your personality like? I don't go to bed too early usually. If I'm not exhausted, I won't go to bed because I have a brain that's weird. It just keeps going. I tell it, go to sleep, but it doesn't. It just, you know. So if you're like that, if you go to bed and you can't sleep, then get up, go do something productive. So I don't know what else to say, but it was scary. It was really scary, and I'm not ever going to just let go like that again.
Well, Carol, thank you so much for sharing that, because I know that it's super scary when you hit that level and stresses the family out, stresses you out, and it really makes you reevaluate. And you've got some really great tips, especially when it comes to planning and taking control of your time in your day, because The reality is you do amazing and great work, Carol. There are people who are counting on you, and we need you strong and able to do that, to proliferate your message. So I'm so glad that there's a silver lining in what happened, and you've got control of your schedule again. So thank you for sharing that. As we proceed, I think what I'll do real quick, because it kind of ties exactly into what Carol was talking about, I'll share mine. I have mine kind of broke down on a PowerPoint. I've got 7 things that I do that help me maintain my peace of mind. So I'm going to share that with you. But before I do, I know some of my stuff comes across a little bit on the fluffy side. It seems just kind of out there and weird. And the reason it is kind of weird, and not very many people do it, but it works. So when you integrate these types of things into your life and your business, even just 1 or 2 of them, whatever resonates with you, it can be life-changing. I had a similar experience with Carol. In fact, I had lots of them, because I have one of those brains. I'm thinking a million miles a minute. And back when I first started this business, I wanted to do every single one of them. It was something shiny, something, I had too many businesses. It was overwhelming. But in this business specifically, I used to get almost an ulcer before every signing. It would just stress me out. I'm like, what am I going to see? What am I going to talk? What if they ask me questions? What if I look like a fool? That was a big thing for me. I was like, I don't want to look like a fool in front of the customer. So I had to come up with some things, and this is what it is. And I'll share them all with you, but just know that gratitude, everything that I'm going to share with you today is like wrapped in a bubble of gratitude. Gratitude has been a life-changing practice that I've started to integrate every single day. And if you're looking for peace of mind, if you're looking for lower stress, start with gratitude, and everything does get easier. The other thing that the affirmation I adopted in my life is, a lot of times I would project onto other people how they should be behaving, how they should be driving on the freeway, how they should be signing documents, how they should be emailing me. When I started to let that go with this affirmation, it really helped out. And it was just that people are doing the best they can with what they've got. So when I started just saying that, instead of getting angry or getting frustrated, it just changed my whole dynamic and how I interacted with the world, and gave me lots of peace. So let me share these 7 things with you real quick. I think I even called it peace of mind. Yeah, peace of mind. What it comes down to, let's do a slideshow here. This GYST, G-Y-S-T, it means get your shit together. That is what I literally told myself, because I was so scrambled in my day, in my signings. I just was feeling so stressed. I was like, I don't want to do this business. This is just too much stress. And yeah, sure, the money's good, but is it worth the toll that it was taking on my mind? And when I sat down and I kind of mapped it all out, I was like, oh, if I got my shit together, this would be a lot easier. And here's what I mean by that. Number 1, keep all of your notary stuff in one place. My notary bag, that Katie handbag that I got, has changed my life. Everything that I need for my notary job is in that. I can grab it on the go, on the fly. If I'm busy right up until the moment I have to leave, I know I can grab that bag and I'm going to be fine. The second thing is to give yourself plenty of time. So this has been a life changer for me, because I used to just leave at exactly when the GPS told me I needed to leave to get to an appointment. And then when people were slow on the freeway, or there was a construction or an accident or something going on, I would just stress out, and I could feel that stress just rising up inside me, and it was really affecting my peace of mind. So I started leaving earlier, even 30, 45 minutes earlier. And then I would arrive to my destination 15 to 30 minutes early, which leads me to the third point. Never be bored. Take something with you, whether it's reading a book, listening to a book on Audible, taking your greeting cards or your thank you cards and filling them out, talking on the phone to a loved one, scheduling appointments, practicing just being present in the moment, whatever that might look like for you. Do that, because what leads to frustration and anger is that you feel bored and rushed and you just want to be done. But if you never feel that feeling of boredom, you can avoid those feelings of frustration. This was huge, guys. Systemize my business. I have a system for preparing documents, so I'm aware of what I'm walking into. I have a system for every single signing. When I sit down, I have a script laid out. I know how I'm starting it. I know how it's continuing. I know how it's ending. I'm shaking hands and I'm leaving. And when I get to my car, I have 4 things that I do every single signing. And then my follow-up is automated too. So I have a follow-up system. That has freed up my mind and space so much. And I know we talked about the 4 things I do. I think that was on last week's call. But anytime you have a question about these or you want to hash these out and talk about them, I love sharing them. So feel free to reach out to me. This one drove me crazy to even use the grammar incorrect here, but get good or sleep. I wanted something to stand out for you because sleep is absolutely imperative to our success. And if you're one of those people that thinks that you can get off on 3 to 5 hours of sleep, there is lots of science to prove that that's not actually correct, and we need good sleep. So you've got to plan that into your day or plan that into your night, whatever it might look like for you. It does change for everybody, so just do what's right for you. But prioritize your sleep. Another huge one, transition management. And transition means when you're going from one activity to another. As mobile notaries and loan signing agents, for me, this was really easy. Every time I get in the car, I created almost like a little breathing ritual. I take 10 deep breaths in and out every time I get in the car, and I just kind of reset with intentions, whatever that might be. I also highly recommend, and I saw Carrie post it in the chat window too, every time you're sitting still, if it's driving in a car, if it's sitting at your desk, move every 45 to 50 minutes. Get up, take a little walk, do some squats, standing squats, or Qigong or Pilates or something to get the blood flowing and get back up into your brain. And one thing that I've integrated into my business is if I'm on the road driving, I honor the sunrise and the sunset. I love to pull over and just stare at the sun as it's rising or as it's falling, whichever one it happens to be. And finally, number 7, guys, garbage in, garbage out. Whether this is a diet of food and nutrition, of television, media, newspapers, or friends and family. Anything that has a toxic impact on you needs to be filtered out or eliminated. This will weigh you down more than anything else in your life. If you're not eating healthy, if you're watching too much TV, if you're watching the wrong TV, if you've got friends and family that are constantly berating you and taking you down or just taxing your energy, you're not going to have the energy you need to move your mission and your vision forward. If you want to read up on some of the best ways to practice presence, Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle is one of the best and most powerful books I've read. And I'll stop sharing that. Awesome. Okay, any questions on that? Anybody want to chime in before we move over to Laura? I think she's probably just about ready for us as well. Laura, are you with us?
How about Here I Be?
Ah, hey, well,
Here I
welcome.
Be. Thank you. Today I'm in lovely downtown Fresno, actually by the airport, for a notary class. And as my partner is teaching this morning, I'm taking a quick 5 minutes out to join you and talk about a tool that I learned about from Brendan Bouchard last year, and I loved it. And you know, a lot of us make good promises about, oh, I'm going to drink more water, I'm going to stop and breathe, I'm going to do this, that, and the other thing. But as the day goes on and we kind of get caught up in whatever it is we're doing, and for many of us, we have very unpredictable schedules. I can have a schedule with nothing happening in the morning and have 6 appointments lined up by 10 a.m. So here's what I learned. I have my handy dandy cell phone, and I use the alarms in it and I label them. You use the label and you can type in a message to yourself. So for instance, my 7:15 a.m. one, or excuse me, my 8:25 a.m. one says, what can I be enthusiastic about today? To just get myself in that right frame of mind. My 10:05 one says, it's time to stretch, it's time to track, it's time to drink water, and it needs to go off. It goes off every day at 10:05 in the morning. My next one is at noon, and it says, have I praised somebody today? Just to remember that it's not all about me. There are a lot of people that help me get where I'm going, including, my clients. And so I need to be aware of being grateful and actually expressing that. It's not enough to think, wow, that was a great client. I need to express it. And then at 2:15, it says, am I on mission and purpose? And, by that time of day, things usually are like rolling downhill. So it's a good time for me to remember, what is my purpose today? Am I on track for that? And then I have two more, 7 o'clock at night. I can finish strong. So that's just a saying, look, I know I'm getting to the end of the day, the end of my energy, but I can finish strong and I can complete what I need. And finally, at 9 o'clock is kind of a review, and my message is, did I deliver? So did I deliver what I promised for today? And those are the labels that I have on my alarms, and they go off throughout the day. And you can time them to go off as many times as you need to. You can have them repeated. It's easy. Everybody has a cell phone. So good way for you to remind yourself about how to keep yourself in check, healthy, happy, and in that good frame of mind. Thanks for letting me share.
Yeah, Laura, that's awesome. And I'm so glad that you did, because we can use modern technology to remind ourselves of our greatness.
Yeah.
And that's really what it comes down to, is we tend to forget it sometimes when life slaps us in the face, or we're out hustling. We're just doing what we're doing. There is a difference between people who are making it and people who aren't, though. And these techniques are part of that difference. We have to, there's this almost belief that we are born a certain way and we just supposed to have everything figured out. And we don't. So you can constantly be learning, researching, and then implementing this stuff every single day into your life just to get the results that you want. So awesome, Laura. Thank you so much for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Now, we actually have a little bit more time, which I'm excited for, because we have a lot of questions. And we've got Laura. In fact, Laura, I have a specific question from you from one of our viewers. So I'd like to jump back in there and finish off with some questions, if that's all right.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. There we go. Maybe.
I hope it's one I can answer.
I'm sure you can. Next, can you share any tricks on bypassing the signing service? Example, if we get a text from SnapDocs for a closing, how can we make contact with the original signing service to let them know that we cover that area? In the future, feel free to call me directly.
Well, first of all, if I get a lead from another agency, such as SnapDocs or a signing service, not my place to go around them and identify that person and say, hey, by the way, you could just use me directly. They all have systems in place. Some of them only use signing companies as a rule. I just don't do that. My connections with title companies have come through direct contact, not because they used me through a third party. I leave that relationship intact. Now, if they choose to want to reach out to me directly, because now they have my contact information, that's fine with me. But that wouldn't be how I go around it. I just don't go around that. I just don't believe in that. I think that's poaching. So I work on building relationships from the ground up, and my initiation is with them directly, not because I got it from somewhere else.
Beautiful. I love that response too. It walks a very fine line, guys, of poaching. Remember, think of a signing service as just another notary, because that's probably how they started.
Yeah.
They've gone out and they've worked to develop those relationships. So we don't necessarily want to steal business.
Right.
Sometimes, like I mentioned earlier, it does organically evolve that way. Awesome. Can notaries or loan signing agents sign documents from other states? I know we are commissioned to do business in our own state, just a little confused. So I think the blanket rule on this, and Laura, if you have a different interpretation of this, please let me know, and Carol, but as long as you are in your state, you are a notary and you can notarize the documents. However, you can't notarize outside your state boundaries unless you have a commission in another state.
And Bill, that would be right. I am commissioned to handle any document from around the world. I handle foreign documents as well, as long as my signer is with me. There are some states back east where they're bordering with other states like New Jersey, New York, and they have dual commissions. And so in that case, they might be able to notarize in a separate state, but they have to have a commission in that state as well. Otherwise, don't worry about where the documents come from, as long as you're in your own jurisdiction.
Beautiful. Hello, I'm a Florida notary and I have a coworker that is a notary signing agent. It seems like she only gets signings between $80 and $90 on average. These are mainly for refinances. What can she do to increase this average to $150? Is it just finding the right title company or something? Carol, do you have some input on that?
Well, obviously it's who hires you, and the better paying jobs are direct from escrow and title. There are still a lot of really good signing services who are willing to pay and do pay well. It's just a matter of, getting hooked up with the right people and just going after as much business as you can get. And I say it all the time, but I am very dedicated to not taking the text messages from SnapDocs or something else where they're offering ridiculous fees. You've got to make sure you're making money. Otherwise, go do something that's a little easier. So that's what we have a list of companies for our graduates that are really paying well and doing well, but it's diminished a lot over the last few years since the advent of things like SnapDocs.
Yeah, and I think $80 to $90 actually does not sound that bad to me at all, especially if it's through a signing service. That's a fair and reasonable rate. I mean, I'd love to see that up closer to 100 to 125. But you'll have to keep in mind that these companies, these signing companies, are probably charging escrow the kind of the going rate, which is 150 or 125. So they still get a little bit of room for profit margin. And just their expenses, and they formulated the relationship. So 80 to 90 isn't that bad. If you want to get to $150, you do need to go escrow direct. Laura, anything else on that you would add?
My philosophy is that if I take $80 jobs, I'm an $80 notary. And so I fortunately am in a position to say I'm not an $80 notary. I'm a $150 notary. And so I only take those jobs that fit my profile for myself. Now, some people may not be in that position, and they are newer in the industry, and they're starting out with $80 and $90 ones. But once they hire you at 80 or 90, that particular company is probably only ever going to offer you 80 or 90. So you want to make sure you stretch yourself outside of your existing, and as you build new relationships, that's where you might be able to get a higher rate.
And there's always negotiation. If you get a call from a company that's a decent company, you've heard good things about them, and they offer you, you've never worked with them before, and they offer you $80, then you try to negotiate. I really want to work with you, but I do have a minimum fee that I charge, but I'm very good at what I do. You'll give me a chance, and maybe, go up to $90 or $95. Always try to, get to that point that you're worth. But Laura said it, if you start off by taking $50 or $80, that's where you're going to be. They don't raise you. So you try to negotiate. If you're not willing to work with companies that pay you $80, you try to negotiate. And if they say no, you're just not going to work with them anymore.
And I'll just throw in there, guys, you're all in your own situation, so you got to do what's right by you.
Right.
So whatever that might look like. All right. So Laura, this is that question that was for you. It's been on here for a couple of weeks now. I've been waiting for a time when I could ask you. So how much do you charge a client when you go to the county recorder's office to record a document for them?
It depends on several factors. One is how far away is that county recorder's office from me, and my familiarity with that particular office, because some of them you can walk in and in the middle of the day and there's really no line and you're in, you're out. Other ones, it's difficult and you're going to have to spend more time. And of course, I'm charging for my time at that point. The other thing is, am I going to have to pay for parking? Because I want to make sure I account for that. So I've got a fee for the travel to get there. I've got a fee if there's a parking fee. And then I've got my time that it takes, you know, it'd be what you call at the table time. It's at the recorder's office time and then coming back. So those factors added up equal the charge that I'm going to have. And so Stanislaus County Recorder is different than San Joaquin County Recorder. I have different experiences with each, and it takes a different amount of time. And ultimately, the price has to fit the amount of time it took from me to do it.
Right. And the cool thing about this too, Laura, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this is outside of the scope of your notary work. So therefore not under the jurisdiction
Right.
of notary fees, right?
It's not regulated, so I can charge whatever I want. And if they feel that, you know, paying $100 for me to run down there and record something for them is worth it because their time's more valuable than that, I'm going to get it.
Yeah.
Not a problem.
Awesome. Love that. If the housing market were to crash in the near future, is there still ways to have a profitable mobile notary business?
Absolutely.
Laura, I'd like you to talk on this a little bit because you've structured your business where it's not reliant on loan signings. In fact,
That's right.
a lot more general notary work, right?
Yes. When I started in 2004, you know, all I had to do was upright and breathing, and I got jobs, and I got jobs at very high paying rates. And that was great until 2008. And when 2008 hit and the market crashed, I went from about 50 signings to 60 signings a month down to 1. It was pretty devastating. Before that happened, because of my connections, I was doing a little bit of general work, not a lot, but a little bit. It was about 95% NSA. When that happened, I realized, yeah, the market's going to come back. I don't know how long it'll take, but in the meantime, I got to figure out how to stay in business. And so I looked at the general mobile notary work and started saying, who needs it all the time, and who needs me to come to them? And I started building that business. And by 2010, the NSA business was coming back, and I was probably doing 40%, 50% general, and 50% NSA. As I realized the profitability, as I studied my profit margins, I realized I made more money really on my general work than I was making on NSA as the NSA fees were going down. And so today, my model is about 80% of my work is what somebody would call general mobile notary work. I like it to call it other specialties or niches that I take care of, such as hospitals and attorneys. And I make much better salary doing that on the net. So I think you can absolutely have, this last month, I think I only had maybe 5 loan signings. Everything else I did would fall under general notary. And I have to tell you, I made more money this year than I made last year. Every year I've been increasing my salary.
That's amazing.
Bill, could you follow up on how she's getting, she's using PayPal, or what service she's using to get paid?
So I get paid on the spot, which is what I love. So I go to the attorney's office, I might do a trust signing, and at the end of the assignment, he writes me a check. I usually take company checks on the spot. I will take Square credit card service for other people. I don't take personal checks from others unless I know them. And then a lot of cash. And I have a receipt book and I track everything for the IRS. So cash, credit card, company check.
Love it. And that's one thing that I've always been impressed about with general notary work is that is 90% cash.
Yeah.
Like almost everybody wants to pay cash.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much for sharing that, Laura, because that's really great. I'm a huge advocate of general notary work. If you're in a state where it makes sense for you, and in most states it does, there's always ways to make money in that.
Right.
It's a great way to create sustainability in your business. Guys, I think that actually might bring us right up to the 10 o'clock hour. We'll go ahead and wrap up here. Thank you so much for being a part of this, sharing your day, growing yourself and your business. Carol, thank you for sharing your vacation with us. I appreciate that. Laura, I know you're wedged in there.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for making time for us. Guys, thank you so much. Have a wonderful time, and we'll see you next week.